Sometimes social systems change even when the environment's not changing. And you can create a rapid change in your environment just by having some property that causes things to go through a phase transition. And so in social networks, for example, you might have five friends, but each of them also has five friends, and each of them has five friends. And so you can reach a critical point where when one person changes their behavior, it can spread to thousands of other people in a network. In my research with Nicholas Christakis, we've looked at how one person can influence another. But dramatically, when we look at whole networks at once, the fact that one person can influence another creates this superstructure in the network as a whole, so that we find these clusters of behavior and of emotions that extend out to 3 degrees of separation. So what that means is that I don't have to know anything about you other than the fact that your friend's friend's friend is happy, or your friend's friend's friend is obese, and it increases the likelihood that you'll be the same way because you live in these clusters that we would never have known about if we hadn't seen the whole network all at once. Evolution is change. In the timescale of a human life, it's possible for things to change through the spread of norms or ideas. And so people's ideas about health behavior or the things that make them happy can spread from one person to another. But in this timescale of a species, then you're talking about something that's very different because the environments that people are exposed to will go up and down over time, having an impact not just on the way ideas might spread between people or emotions might spread between different animals, but also on how our genes interact with the environment. And so when you think about evolution, it's really possible that it operates on two different timescales. Heterogeneity is the miracle of difference. It's a miracle because when you think about how evolution acts on us, it tends to make all of us the same. If there's one best way to behave or one best way to be, then over time, the people who are best are going to be the ones that survive so that we all end up looking alike. And so the fact that we exhibit differences in our behavior and in our emotions and even in our genes, this is a result of the fact that we have different environments. And so you might live in an area, for example, that requires you to be able to get together with your friends to hunt for food. If that's the case, then having lots of friends is going to be very important. And if you're raised in an environment where you don't want to be in contact with people who have deadly diseases, it might be really important for you not to have very many friends. And this is exactly the same kind of variation that we study when we study social networks, because we find that genetic variation can actually help to explain these behavioral variations that we see in the real world. Well, order is really the escape of death. And so you have all of these processes in the universe that cause things to become disordered, to be all mixed up. So anyone with a child, for example, who has a lot of different toy sets will know this, that you go and you look in your child's closet, and at the bottom of the closet, all of those sets are all intermingled with one another. And it seems like an impossible task that any of those toys would ever be useful again. But the children can create this orderly process where they'll go and they'll find all the pieces that belong to an individual toy set and put them back together so that the toy can be useful. And in our research on social networks, we find lots of different orderly processes, like the tendency for people to choose to be friends with each person who is like them. So liberals tend to be friends with liberals, and people who are skinny tend to be friends with people who are skinny. We also find in social networks an orderly process where people with lots of friends choose to be friends with other people who have lots of friends. And this is one of the things that gives our networks a unique shape, this orderly process that we go through when we're making individual decisions.